here I am chatting with Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini driver, and I'm going to say friend. He doesn't know I'm saying that, so we'll see how he reacts. Bryan Sellers. Bryan, how are you?
Good. I would go with acquaintance more than friend, but friend's fine for where we're at. I'm good, man. We're at Detroit hanging out. It's a little hot, but looks like maybe we have some rain coming. Going to be an interesting day. Who knows?
So, friend in training. I'm very excited that you're back in racing. You know, you had a real strong 2019 and then a fantastic 2020 with the 24 Hours of Daytona. And then the pandemic hit, and that kind of threw everything in a whirlwind. And Paul Miller, even when the racing started, Paul Miller Racing didn't start right away. So you've had some real time off in 2020.
Yeah, it was difficult. You know, the pandemic certainly affects a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And to be honest, to say that like it was all negative for me wouldn't have been true. I got to spend a lot of time with my family. I have 2 kids at home, and my wife that we don't get to see that often. So, you know, there were parts of it that were great. The obvious downside is we didn't come back racing, and we didn't come back racing because Paul had to furlough so many people on his dealership that there was no way he was going to make that commitment to go racing and have those people sit at home, which is, I think, super admirable, right? When things started to open back up and pick back up, he held true to the racing side also, and we went back and we did the endurance races. And it's great because I think those are your pinnacle races through the sport, but it's not enough. You know, 4 races a year isn't quite enough. So we're all super happy to be back for a full season again. You know, it's funny, like you go away for 6 races and all of a sudden people start asking you guys like, oh, are you guys back? You doing the full season? You're like, well, we didn't really leave by choice, you know? So,
right.
But yeah, we're back. We're doing the full season, and it's tough. I mean, when you go away for a while, there's stuff that has to come back, and you know, you got to get back in your swing of things, and we're still kind of very much in that mode, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. Even the toppest guys with the biggest factory teams, there's kinks to work out. There always is some rust to shake off, those types of things. And specifically for Detroit, you haven't been here since 2019, but at the same time, no one has. So maybe in a way, that's a little bit of a leveling effect.
It is, definitely. I mean, the one thing for sure is track time is always a premium, right? And I think for us, the difficulty in this weekend is we had a motor issue at the end of the first session, and we had to sit out the second session. And I think that goes to show you exactly how difficult track time is to come by and how important it is. You miss an hour and a half and you completely kind of fall out. You know, in the first session we were in the top 3, top 4. You miss a session and we struggle to sit in the top 6, top 8. And you know that you just, with these level of teams and drivers, and it's not just the car setup that you lose, it's the familiarity with the track over another hour and a half. It's tough. So we're kind of trying to dig our way out of a hole right now.
Well, and Detroit is such a weird beast in that way because it's a very complicated track, a lot of off camber, a lot of surface changes, and it's deceptively quick considering it's a street course. But on top of that, it's also very dynamic. There's always a new patch of pavement here. Somewhere that was bumpy is smooth, and somewhere that was smooth is bumpy. So it's very much got a life of its own. So there is always a lot new to learn. Do you feel like you're on top of that part of it?
Yeah, I think we're on top of that part. That, you know, the real thing about Detroit, I think that separates itself from a lot of other places is it's a circuit where you have to be kind of 11 tenths, not even 10 tenths to do a lap time. And there's a couple other places where you can manipulate that a little bit and not be, you know, 100% on the brakes, but roll more corner, mid-corner speed and gain lap time. But this place is if you're not up against every single wall and you're not as late as you can be everywhere on the brakes and you know, just X, Y, Z and knocking them all off, then you lose lap time, a lot of lap time. And that's hard to get on a street course when you're in between the walls all the time, you know. So it takes some laps to get that going, and I think that some of that is probably where Madison and I will miss just a touch right now, but it'll come quick in the race when you're around other cars.
And this is kind of a bizarre race on top of everything else because you only got 100 minutes. So you've got to get up to speed really quick, and then you also have a really critical in-lap, out-lap, because you have one and only pit stop if you have any chance. And so how much preparation goes into that part of it?
I mean, almost everything. The whole race revolves around exactly what you just said. Your in-lap, your out-lap, and your pit stop. Everything else is somewhat irrelevant. I mean, if you have good in-laps, good out-laps, and a good stop, and you can put yourself in good track position, then you just fight the best you can and see where you end up. But if you alternately have bad in-out laps or a bad stop, your race is likely over. It's so difficult to pass, and track position means everything. So it's everybody's focus. You know, in the beginning, the teams that hadn't really been here missed out on that. So, you know, the ones that had done the race before kind of always had an advantage, and they knew how to get around that. But now everybody knows. I mean, it's clear. These a bunch of smart people. So you can't keep secrets like that for long. So everyone will put their focus on that.
So do you think this is one of the strongest races for you, or are you more encouraged later in the season? Like, I know you're always good at Petit at Road Atlanta. Are there other places that you feel like is a more inherently Lamborghini strong place?
I mean, I think we're kind of, this is going to come out wrong, but I think we're kind of just run of the mill, you know, like we're not terrible anywhere.
Run of the best mill on the planet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not, I would say we're not really terrible anywhere, and I don't think that we have one place that I just think, oh my God, we're amazing, you know.
It's not like this car is suited to one particular
not
place.
particularly. I think it's pretty well rounded. So, you know, we'll struggle in a couple of the races coming forward, but we'll be good in a couple of them too, you know. So it's also difficult for me to answer that because so much has changed since the last time we did a full season. So you know, the last time we did a full season was 2019, and in 2019 we were still using two different compound tires. You know, we were using a soft tire and a hard tire. So a lot of the places that we were stronger were on the soft tire, and the places we were not as good were on the hard tire. So I don't know what those places are going to be like when we go back to. So it's hard to answer.
So I just let you kind of like end this with a statement. As you know, this is one of the few race cars I've actually driven. I drove a GT3 car in Italy. So if Madison has too much trouble, you let me know. I think we're about the same height, and I'll jump in.
And
for
about
it.
the same weight now too.
Hey, and I'm a local, so I know all the nuances. So here is my best friend that he's ever known, Bryan Sellers. Bryan, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.